passion and fans and a whole lot of faith. So if you bleed red and you holler all night, then brother, you're exactly right. This is Tuffy Talk, where the Pack fans belong, pouring out for the red and the white sing along. We'll bring it all down, yeah, we'll call it straight. This is our show, go Pack, go State. Tuffy Talk, fired up and loud. The Wolfpack Nation, we're a hell of a crowd. From the first pitch to the final play, Tuffy Talk, let's roll today.
Welcome to another edition of the Tuffy Talk live show. We are so excited to be here, and we are so excited to be back 1 week closer to the start of football season. And may I start this off by saying, 14 years ago, a coach descended upon Raleigh, North Carolina, with the goal of one pack, one goal. But let's be real, 14 years later, Ethan, we're still sitting here. 14 years ago, or 14 years later, and 0 ACC titles.
Wow, that's a heck of a
long time.
Show.
Yeah, that's a long time to say.
14 years is a long time. It's a very long time.
Yeah, so with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, if you've been with us before, you know the drill. Any questions, comments here, and actually too as well, it might help too as well to incentivize if I pop the chat box right down there too below as well. So make sure you get any questions, comments, concerns right down there in the chat. We got a ton to get to today, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it here. But with that being said, you know, Greg, like you have right there, we are a magical circular 40 days away until kickoff, man. Is the juices flowing a little bit more, man?
They are. I spent 8 hours in my storage unit finishing it up, getting it ready for fall camp, if you will, for my fall camp. It looks great. It was painful, but we got it done, and I'm excited to have a storage unit that rivals anybody else's.
There you go. I love that. Yeah. So with that being said, I do want to jump into here again. You know, over this past week, I believe it was on Tuesday, we had the ACC kickoff for NC State, particularly here. And I want to kind of start off here with Ethan. You know, the title of the show here is talking about how Doeren made a comment saying how Doeren's sick of being second. To which a couple of NC State fans saying, "We're Doeren, you were never second." You know, but I don't know. I don't know about you, Ethan, but I kind of point back to, I believe it was 2017, where it was NC State versus Clemson at NC State, and basically the winner of it would essentially almost control its own destiny to make the ACC championship. I believe they played Virginia that year. Clemson ended up making it the ACC championship. Played Virginia, some coastal team, squashed the crap out of them, and the rest is history. So for me, I kind of put again, I get it, nobody likes what's the word, you know, like mental victories, moral victories, but I don't know, I still say that year that you can make a case we were the second best team in ACC that year.
I don't think that's the only year that's happened. I think that's been the case multiple times, especially when you had the divisions. I think 2018 too, State went down to Clemson, and Clemson wasn't much better. I think that was the Kelly Bryant year. But Clemson was still head and shoulders above NC State, but State was still the second best team. And just because they were in the Atlantic, they didn't make the ACC title game. So I think you can make the case that happened twice. I would also point to 2023, where that may have been State's best shot to win the ACC title. While Dave Doeren's been here. And I mean, look, it was a throwaway game against Louisville, I think in September, that ended up being the difference. Nobody really thought State was any good. State finished 9-3, 6-2, and they had lost that game to Louisville. So Louisville made it and State didn't. So look, you know, do I get what he's trying to say? Yes. Do I agree with you? Yes. At the same time, if you're Dave Doeren, you got to know, like, you know, you're going to ruffle some feathers with those comments, both of opposing fan bases and people in State's fan base who don't like him. But I get what he was saying, and I don't necessarily think he was wrong.
Greg, I know you got some comments on that.
Yeah, obviously people are going to play semantics on the words and break it down. And, at the end of the day, Dave doesn't give a crap. So there is that factor. If you're trying to choose your words better, maybe second fiddle would have been, the better way to phrase that. Again, like Ethan said, I get where he's coming from. Second place, like in numerical order, no, that really hasn't been a case, but I get the gist behind the saying. But yeah, I think there's a couple things you can take away from his comments, in his opening remarks from last week. One, it doesn't sound like he's ready to be done anytime soon, at least in the next year or two, where it kind of had those feelings over the last few years that it may be winding down. It sounds like he might have another 5, 6, 7 years left in the tank. If you listen to last year, he said, and again, some of this stuff is coach speak, so you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But he said last year was one of his best groups to ever coach, and you don't say those, and when you're winding down. And I still think that he came to state with a purpose, and you kind of alluded to it in your opening statement. Is his mantra of one pack, one goal, and that's to win championships. Well, we have to win one before you can win championships. And I think that's something he still really wants to do. And you saw that, when we go back and talk about Ellie Avent's legacy and the note ACC championship is part of that, that was a really big thing about Kevin Keats, and Wes Moore was winning ACC championships, and both of those coaches did it. I do think that he has a chip on his shoulder, he being Dave Doeren, and I don't think he's going to, at least in the near future, quit until he gets one.
No, yeah, no, he's definitely a guy that's fully dead set. And here's my thing too, as well, Greg. And honestly, this was my biggest takeaway from the entire ACC kickoff. I've never seen Doeren so like he
Loose.
might as well have not even had a tie on. Like he could
Yeah.
have honestly showed up in honestly t-shirt and flip-flops. Like he couldn't give a crap less about what anybody thought. Like poor Annabelle Myers, like who knows, who's the head of communications for NC State football. Like Lord knows what she could have dealt with that day. And honestly, like he wouldn't have even apologized one bit for it, which I love. Like I love the fact that he honestly started his press conference saying, you're gonna rue the day basically that you gave me a microphone today, because I'm about to let it be said. And obviously him coming out with the 14 years ago, which I don't know, Ethan, how long do you think that he went into that press conference with that prepared, or do you think that
he rehearsed that in the mirror for sure? For sure.
You know what this reminds me of? And it's kind of silly. If anyone has seen the movie Office Space, the day like he comes in after he's hypnotized and just comes in, no cares in the world, puts fish on his, and this could be Dave Doeren in a nutshell, because Dave loves fishing. I could see him coming in, putting a fish on his desk and scaling it up and ready to cook it. And he just didn't seem like he gave no F's. Like he just kicked down the door and said, all right, Dave 2.0, ready and reporting for duty.
Well, he almost even kind of like, because he talked about too in terms of retention in the ACC, and how basically him and Dabo are two of the longest tenured coaches now in the ACC. So it almost kind of like him saying that, almost kind of like saying like, I'm the senior guy here, so I almost get this right now. Now that I've been here for now 14 years too, as well, which is again nothing to sneeze at here for sure, and especially in today's state of college football, for a coach to be at a school for 14 years here. But yeah, Ethan, I do want to ask you.
Puffing his chest, wasn't he?
Oh, 100%. Oh,
He was peacocking.
Well, and I mean, he pointed out some understandable stats. Talking about he has how NC State has the second most wins, the second most conference wins since 2000, and
Player development,
putting players in the pros, and and rightfully so. Got to give him all the roses here for that. But Ethan, was there any particular comment, particularly that Coach Doeren said during ACC kickoff that stood out to you?
I mean, I think you kind of he definitely grabbed headlines with that. The other one that you mentioned, Layton, was his favorite team to coach. And you always kind of assume like, all right, your favorite team to coach is going to be the best one. Not always the case, right? And there's been so many teams that have been close, that have been really good. And I don't like, for me, last year's team wasn't in that group. They weren't. I would look at the 21 team, the 23 team as to, okay, I feel like this team they're fun for me as a fan. Now, obviously his job as a coach is different from what we're viewing, but that stands out, and it definitely is interesting looking back because a lot of those guys left, a lot of those skill position guys left. They decided to keep CJ Bailey when they didn't have to do that. Maybe they felt like they did. I don't know, but definitely. And again, we've heard those comments before. I think we heard them during last season. But to me, it's always like, oh, you love the great teams, the 2017 team, the 2018
that's
team.
easy though, isn't it?
It's easy for sure. And I've made this point before, like, teams that don't necessarily end up being the best that surprise you, sometimes those teams can be more fun versus the teams where you're like, hey, we expect this team to be good. That 2017 team, you expected them to be good, and it was like, okay, it almost was like 8 or 9 wins was a disappointment. I've brought this up before many times, the Celtics winning the championship in 2024. It wasn't enjoyable until the very end. Like, it was the least amount of fun I've ever had watching a team every night, because it was almost like if they don't win the championship, none of it matters.
Right.
And it's just not a fun place to be mentally as a fan. And so if you're
it feels more robotic.
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely thought that stood out. And, we talked about those skill guys moving on. Were a lot of those comments directed at Kevin Concepcion? Maybe, right? I don't know. I just thought that probably stood out to me the most.
Yeah. What about you, Greg? Besides, obviously, like you said, you got Salty Dave. Now you got Chess Dave. Like,
No F's Dave.
Yeah, no F's Dave. Exactly. Anything else stand out?
I just think, again, just some of the comments that he made previously. I'm just curious if maybe last year's team just kind of rejuvenated him, like just kind of gave him a new sense, a new fire, if you will. And you kind of alluded to it, Ethan, some of the knuckleheads that may or may not have been causing some of his stress. And he just had guys that, if you listen to some of the comments, like what Isaiah Shirley said, it feels different with these group of guys, and that they bought in, they listen. I think CJ bringing in some of his dudes, I think people are just focused, and maybe this is what this team needs. Maybe this is the iteration that gets it done. I don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Ethan.
I think, assuming those comments were directed at Kevin Concepcion, which I don't know, I feel like is a safe assumption. He's gone now. He's in the pros, right? He's fine. To me, what I hope the lesson there is you don't have to bring guys back, right? In 2023 felt like, oh man, you got to bring back Kevin Concepcion. You have to, going into the 2024 season. And then look at how that turned out for you. It wasn't a fun team. You had the high expectations. It wasn't a fun team. It was just a bad vibe all around. Obviously, you had the McCall injury and all that thing, but you kept Concepcion when you didn't have to, and like assuming that's the attitude that you're talking about, I hope that's a reminder that it's like, hey, you don't have to get into a bidding war to keep all of your guys. And maybe that's the lesson they feel like they learned last year with Anderson and Rogers and some others, where it's like, hey, maybe we don't necessarily want to do that. Now, again, this is a personality thing. It's not just what is it on the football field. So I kind of hope that was the lesson, that they learned that year, where it's like, hey, we don't have to stretch ourselves so far for just one guy. We can go out and replace him, as you saw them do this year with the guys they lost last year.
And I think they did a good job replacing. If it is Kevin Concepcion that kind of feels like the person, right? Again, that's just conjure. But sometimes
feels
more
like a
is
safe
less.
bet.
It does. Especially some of the things that I'm familiar with. Like, it just feels like that's it. And again, I get it, but at some point, even if you're quote unquote productive, you still can't deal with a lot of the shenanigans, because you've got 100 other guys on the team that one person can deeply affect.
Yeah,
or one or two.
Well, because here's my thing too as well. I think that honestly, like you said, Greg, like how last year's team really kind of rejuvenated Doran. I mean, because keep in mind the 2 years ago, like I mean, well, first of all, let me take a step back. At the kickoff, he basically said outright, "I don't enjoy the NIL side. I don't enjoy the money discussions. I don't enjoy that part." He basically said that outright, and I think to add to that point, 2 years ago, before the Grayson McCall, no Roger season, basically it was almost basically forced to say, listen, like, if we're going to compete for AC title, we have to go two elbows in to this NIL, shenanigans. We have to do it. If we want to be competitive, we got to go there. And so I think that year was a lot of, okay, we have a flood of resources that have come in from NIL perspective. I'm going to go out there and get the best guys I can and put them on the football field. And that's what he did. He put the best talent, but again, the problem is that he lost the culture side. He lost the locker room side. And that was extremely tested. And thank God for CJ Bailey, who was willing to step up to the task of saving what could have been a really, really dark season for NC State. If he didn't at least step in, at least win a few games, and obviously cap it off with a great win against Carolina. But again, to the point is, I think that was honestly, and this is a guy that's been coaching for decades now, but I think that was a huge lesson for him, which I think he's learned a lot from since then. So, anyway, though, before though, again, we'll definitely talk a lot more about the AC kickoff here in a little while. But I want to jump on over here as I want to start talking about the season to come. Because the big question in the title is this Doran's year here? So, and we got a lot to preview here. So let's jump on over to one of our segments we haven't brought back in a little while, but our hot take countdown. All righty. So for this segment here, I actually kind of want to put Ethan on the spot here for a second, as I believe it was 2 weeks ago, Greg, we had talked about, you and I had gotten on here for the hot take countdown, and we talked about which players that we were planting our flag in terms of a sleeper for this upcoming season that we wanted to kind of set in on. I know for myself, talked about Jonathan Paylor, about Andre Evans here. You obviously talked a lot about Duke Scott and planned to flag in that he's going to be our first 1,000-yard rusher since 2018, Reggie Gillespie. Ethan, I believe even before you came on Tuffy Talk, you joined me and we talked a little bit about it. I gave you my Andre Evans hot take. You gave it a 10 out of 10. Hot, and fuego hot. And you not that still in fuego hot. I appreciate that. Ethan, if there's one player that's a sleeper right now that you would say that you would plant your flag is going to increase his stock for this upcoming season, who would that player be?
Popo Aguirre, linebacker transferring in from Miami. I think there's a number of different ways you can go there. Like, I like the Andre Evans pick. I do think it's a little bit, it's definitely out of left field. But for me, Aguirre is a guy who played at, I don't know, maybe I value that too much. Like, did you play? Where were you? This guy played at Miami. Now, he got recruited over at Miami, which is why he moved on. But that's fine. Like, it's okay. You're not asking him to come in and be Peyton Wilson. You're not expecting that. But I think you lost a lot with Caden Fordham, with Sean Brown, who obviously was hurt last year. But I think Aguirre's in line. Like, the roster that he's on and the rosters that he's going to be facing is not as talented as the roster that he was on last year and the rosters that they were facing down the stretch in the playoffs. And so I think that's a guy who added late, not as big of a name, I think, as Harvey Dyson, as King Mack, but was added late. So I think maybe slipped under the radar for some people. But I think he's a guy who's going to come in, be NC State's best linebacker. And potentially, like, I don't know if he's going to have the biggest impact defensively, because I really value what edge rushers bring to the table, what cornerbacks bring to the table. But in terms of productivity from a down-to-down basis, Popo Aguirre is the guy I have my eye on. I think he's in line for a really, really big season.
Huge. Love that. Yeah, I love that pick here for sure. Even got Benjamin here in the chat saying, plan to flag JoJo Trader will lead the receivers in touchdowns this year. And I do want to ask you, Greg, here real quick on this here, and then we'll jump into the hot take piece here. But do you believe CJ's comment that he doesn't really have a guy for this upcoming season? Did you believe that comment that he made on the Ovi's Gilio podcast?
No, I mean, you're always got to have your dude that you can rely on and know if it's 3rd down and 5, I know who I can go get 6 yards for me, right? Like last year, it kind of felt like that was either Anderson or Jolie for him. Keenan Jackson seems to be a really good possession guy too. But no, I think he's gonna. And look, I mean, he did his dangdest to talk every wide receiver up over the last couple of days during media availability. I think I heard him say just about every receiver we have in that room. So he wants to stay in good favor, but if anything, it should be the other way around. The receivers need to stay in good favor with the quarterback so they get the ball thrown their way. But no, I think he's got a guy. He won't say it publicly, nor should he, because he's the leader of the team. But now I'm sure he's got a guy that he knows he can go to if he needs, a crucial 1st down late in the ball game.
Yeah.
Will NC State let him have a guy?
I think so. It sounds like I do. Gosh, every year I tell myself I'm not going to drink the damn Kool-Aid, and I feel like I'm guzzling it right now. Because I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then you start hearing, you start getting sound bites, and you're like, oh gosh, it's going to happen. And I don't know. I think so. I think Coach Roper and Doeren, this is just look. If you don't, then that's a fault on the coaching staff. If you don't trust your guy in year 3 in the system, and you should remove all restraints on the man and let him cook, as the kids would say.
Yeah, agreed.
What do you think, Ethan? You don't think they will?
I just don't know if there's going to be enough consistency at the wide receiver position on a down-to-down basis to say this is going to be a guy who's going to put up 800 yards and 7 touchdowns or whatever it is. That's kind of my concern with it. And I also think they force-feed guys. 2 years ago, they force-fed Kevin Concepcion. It didn't work. Last year, I thought they force-fed Justin Jolie. I thought his production on a down-to-down basis regressed year over year. And so I thought it was just a little bit too much of, if it's a big play, we're going to Jolie. Now, Jolie was good, but so are the other guys, so I don't necessarily think it has to be, hey, we're going to player X in this position. And so, from that perspective, maybe it's better for NC State, but
I agree. I agree, because if you start to have certain tendencies, coaches on other teams and coordinators on their teams are going to key on those things. Hey, it's 3rd and 4. Look for this play. Like, it got so predictable a couple of years ago with certain packages. Like, if you saw Dante Daniels in formation, 90% it was going to be a run. Like, even I was picking up on that. And I would look at somebody like, this is going to be a run, 3rd and 2. It's going to be a run. Well, I just said that because Dante Daniels is in. Like, no, they did do a better job of getting him more involved in the passing game. But I still think, to the point is, you got to spread the ball around it and keep defenses guessing, because that's how you're going to be successful.
Yeah. So with that being said, too, I want to take just 30 seconds here. And again, we're going to be starting our NC State football season preview episodes here soon, with offense preview, defense preview, starting to do our season predictions too, as well, game by game predictions too. But I wanted to get full back in here and start talking a little bit about X factors for the season here. And we could always go for the layup of health. I'm going to challenge Greg and Ethan, saying, all right, maybe let's go beyond just X factor. Just, we got to stay healthy, because as Doeren said, there is a lot of luck to that. You can't control a lot of it. It just kind of happens here. But Greg, do you have, what is one X factor that you have for this season, if this is truly going to be Doeren's year and he can finally get over the hump of being tired of 2nd place?
I think it has to be somewhere on the defensive side. After last year, that seems to be the question marks on this team going in. Coach Doeren talked about it a little bit with last year with Elliott's situation, and the team did the best they could to rally around. And you had 9 injuries on the defensive side. And look, excuses aside, injuries aside, someone on the defense is going to have to step up on this team. I think there's going to be enough offensive weapons, and there's enough there where you can make some things work. It's going to be someone on the defensive side, and I think I'm with Ethan. Like how is this pass rush going to look? You got to pressure the quarterback. That's something State's not been super successful over the last couple of years. Like, yeah, you'll have a couple guys with like 4 or 5 sacks, but as a team as a whole, has, I think, had some problems there. Turnovers last year weren't as good as a couple years back. But give me someone. I'm with Ethan on the linebacker side, but I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to go Sterling Dixon. I think he's a guy that there's some hopes for, that they're really high on. But I mean, take any 3 of those linebackers, because again, when State was most successful, and I know this is a different defensive scheme and all of that, but when we had Drake Thomas, Peyton Wilson, Isaiah Moore, this team was cooking. And so get me back to some really good linebacker play. And for that reason, I'm going to take Sterling Dixon as an X factor.
Yeah. Well, and for me, Greg, I'm actually going to go not necessarily player specific for an X factor. I'm going to go a little bit more schedule here, actually. And I'm going to say the X factor is we got to have for sure a winning record, if not even 4-1 on the road. I really am challenging us to take a next step here in terms of on the road here. I know, Ethan. I'm. Here's my
I thought
thing.
you were going to go a different
I
way.
mean,
I thought you were going to go a specific game.
I
What's
thought
that?
if State was 4-1 on the road, we can just get our playoff tickets now.
Well,
you still got to win at home, but yeah.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like 3-2, 4-1. Like let's get there on the road. Just more because all right. So here's the thing: Game 1 on the road, Virginia, huge game to start right out the gate. You gotta ideally start off 1-0. But then you go to Vanderbilt, which is a very hot program, hot team now right now. Now in terms of how they'll look, how they'll play without Diego Pavia, completely understand that. But again, they're going to be feeling themselves by that point. That's only week 3.
Week 4 technically.
Week 4 technically. So but so they'll still
3.
because it'll be week 0 for us first Virginia, so it's week 3.
Yeah, 3.
Anyway, but
Right.
so again, they'll still be feeling themselves, so they're still going to be playing some good ball probably at that point at Nashville on SC Network, and then you have to go to Stanford, which a trip to California is never easy. And then go to Tallahassee, which who the heck knows what Florida State's going to be like. They could be riding high, feeling really good, or they could be extremely just down the gutter. But then you wrap up with a road trip to Carolina here. So, I mean, it's definitely a challenging road schedule. And I think there's a lot of games here you could argue that have a lot of, tie to it in terms of how the season goes and how it feels for State fans in terms of where we are, in terms of competing for ACC title, or like you said, Ethan, competing for even potentially a playoff spot here when all is said and done here. But yeah, go ahead.
I could piggyback off of that. Yeah. So if you're going to go X factor like that, I'm going to say X factor either 4-1 or 5-0 going into Louisville. I think Louisville is the game where if you go 4-1 with that loss to Vandy, because now you're 1-0 in conference play. Because here's the thing. You're either going to have to go undefeated or 1 loss to really give yourself a realistic opportunity. And we'll talk about it in tweets of the week, because it could get funky if you have like 2 or 3 losses. If you have 3, you're definitely out. But if you can have no more than 2 losses, and then now you got to play combos of losses, and it gets very muddy. But if you can go into that Louisville game 4-1, 5-0, again with that 1 loss being to Vandy, and you come out on the other side of that game with a win, I think then we can really start to talk how this team's going to look if they maintain that level, because you're going to find out really quick getting into this season. There's no dipping your toes in the water this year. You're going to UVA week 1 ACC matchup. Like there's going to be some statements made in that first week.
Agreed. Ethan, what's your X factor for the season, or one of them?
CJ Bailey. I think it's really interesting the way that State decided to approach this roster by pretty much going all in on Bailey and saying, here, you're our guy. You're compensated very nicely. We talked about that last week, if NC State was the highest bidder or not. regardless of whether they were or not, I think we agree he was paid very, very nicely. Like if you were to rank like top 25 highest paid players, quarterbacks in the country, like is he
He's
on
top
that
10.
list? Probably. You think he's top 10?
I do. Like, again, if the number what we hear is true, that's a big number. I mean, I get it. What do you think? You think he's top 10? If not, very close.
Close. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, you probably figure half
wouldn't
of
be
the SEC teams were probably at his number, maybe more, maybe 2 or 3 in the Big Ten, and then 1 in the ACC. Like, who else is paying quarterbacks that kind of money outside of the, I mean, it would have been Sorsby, but he isn't eligible. So,
yeah, that changes things. But like, you lost a lot. You lost a lot with Smothers, Rogers and Anderson moving on. But you lost a lot.
And Peak protecting him.
Peak, and obviously Jolie going pro.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the belief that those guys made Bailey look better than Bailey made them look, if that makes sense.
It's fair.
And I talked about it kind of some last year. Like, I'm not sure this is the approach I would take with roster construction, like going all in on a quarterback and then, nickel and diming the roster the rest of the way. I'm not sold that this is going to work. I'm not. And we've talked about some of the concerns with Bailey. Can he be more consistent? Can he get out of his own way? Can he stop things from snowballing?
Stepping into
can he
throws.
throw things like that, be more aggressive throwing the ball down the field?
Yeah.
To me, those are all real questions. And if
they're fixable.
This roster, they're fixable. He's very toolsy. He's got a ton of upside. Like this, but this roster is built for CJ Bailey to carry. Carry is probably not the wrong word. There are 22 players on the field
Step up and
at a
lead.
time. But yeah, like he's got to take the, and again, based off what we've seen the last 2 years, it may happen, but I'm not 100% sure that that's going to happen. And so, if Bailey has 3 really bad games like he did last year, what's it going to look like? And again, those were against really good teams. Those really good teams aren't on the schedule this year. So hopefully that helps. But again, what if there's still 2 or 3 bad games against teams that aren't on that level? Like, to me, that's kind of where it's at, where it's like, all right, you're expecting Bailey to carry you here.
So Ethan, let me ask you this. From year 1 to year 2, he got better, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's taking you a minute.
It's taken me a minute. Like
he led the ACC in QBR last year. He led the ACC in QBR last year.
Yeah.
Layton, but are you fixated on stats, or are you fixated on stats plus wins?
No, I mean, I'm fixated on just the simple fact of, I just have a hard time. I would have a hard time saying a quarterback who basically got thrown into the fire 2 years ago is just as good as the QB last year that led the AC in QBR. That's all I'm saying. Just that right there. But sorry, go ahead, Ethan.
So my thing with that would be, you're right. He got thrown into it in the middle of the season, or not the middle, but the beginning, whatever, right?
Grayson McCall had taken reps.
Right. Grayson McCall had taken all those reps up to that point. Very, very impressed with what he did as a freshman under those circumstances. Got NC State to a bowl game. Those skill guys were all very, very young. Smothers was a freshman. Rogers was a freshman.
Didn't really play
Anderson
a whole lot.
was a freshman. Yeah, right. And so I was really impressed. But again, statistically, like, the completion percentage went from 65% to 68%. He went from 201 yards per game to 238 yards per game. 8 yards per attempt to 7.8 yards per attempt. That went down. Interceptions went from 3.3% to 2.3%. So a little better. Touchdown percentage on, percentage of throws that were touchdowns, 5.6 to 6.3. Sports Reference has his rating. I don't know which rating they use, their efficiency rating. Went from 144 to a 150. Like, his running numbers were pretty much in line. I expected a bigger jump.
Yeah.
No big leaps. I expected a bigger leap because it was his offseason. He was the guy. And again, maybe it'll come, but like, again, if I'm looking at what happened from year 1 to year 2, am I sure that that leap is going to come from year 2 to year 3? Like, that's kind of where my questions are.
So this is where then again, if you're taking that, the schedule was it was definitely harder. Like you played Duke, you played Georgia Tech, you played Miami, you played Notre Dame. Those are 4 quality teams from last year that you're not playing this year. Again, as it stands today on 20 July, right? Because again, things change. People jump out.
Greg, you're not in the military right now. July 20th.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Touche, sir. But there's always a team that sneaks up, right, during the season that you're like, oh, did not see that one coming. And so that team may end up on state schedule. But as of today, like with the schedule lightened a little, maybe that's what, again, that's not the greatest like rah speech.
But it would count, right?
Yeah,
like,
but it would count, correct?
It would count, right? Like we talked about it. I believe, was it 8 of those interceptions? We talked about this a few weeks ago. 8 of
against Duke,
9
Miami, and Notre
interceptions
Dame
came in 3 games.
Yeah.
Right. So if you sit here and say, all right, well, you're not playing teams like that, so we're going to go ahead and knock your interceptions from 9 down to 2. Hey, that improvement's there, right? We're not we're not going to be sitting there after the season saying, oh, well,
then he's someone else's problem after that.
Somebody else's not even that, but like if you win the games, who cares?
Yeah.
If you get to 10 wins, if you get to the ACC title game. So, if that's the improvement, being the teams that you're playing are worse, hey, I'll take it. I'm not going to sit here and say, and that certainly could happen. And then you combine like, hey, what if he does take a leap and your schedule's easier? Then you've really got something. So
double bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With you.
So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, so we locked in our X factors there. So make sure to hold us accountable as the season goes, especially in December once we get to the postseason too as well. Definitely remind us too as well of how these X factors turned out, and if they turned out like fine wine or like week old eggs.
Moldy cheese. Yeah.
Moldy cheese, even that too as well. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, let's jump on over to one of my other favorite news segments here, which is Ethan's Stat Pack. Big thanks to our amazing sponsor, Alpha Wolf CPR Trainings, for sponsoring our segment, Ethan's Stat Pack. Are you looking to get CPR certified for your business, school, church, team, or organization? Alpha Wolf CPR Trainings makes it easy by bringing the training directly to you. Alpha Wolf CPR Trainings is an American Red Cross licensed training provider offering adult and pediatric first aid, CPR, and AED certification courses. Whether you prefer hybrid learning or fully instructor-led, they customize the training to fit your group's needs, including adult-only or pediatric-only certifications. With successful completion, participants receive an official American Red Cross certification, valid for 2 years and meeting OSHA standards. Convenient, professional, and tailored to your schedule, Alpha Wolf CPR training helps you stay prepared when every second matters. To learn more and schedule your class today, visit alphawolfcpr.square.site today. With that being said, Mr. Ethan, we'll hand over to you.
1,351 yards are returning for NC State, yards from scrimmage, which surprised me. I didn't expect that number to be so high. I don't know where you guys expected, but we spend so much time talking about, this is what NC State has lost. And so 1,351 yards out of 5,000. So 5,000 total yards last year was like 5,085, I think. So percentage basis, 26.5% of your scrimmage yards are returning. And I apologize to any players that I'm leaving out here. I didn't really get into the weeds of like Preston Douglas's 20 yards. So apologies, Preston. I did not include those. I included 4 of your top 10 scrimmage.
Do we get to play along?
Are back. Do we get to what?
Play along, like names, like who are we?
Yeah.
Like,
so okay. So who are the top 10? I was gonna have you guys guess how many, but I just told you 4. Who do you think they are?
Well, go ahead. You take one and I'll take one. Go ahead, Layton. I'll give you the easy one.
Well, so sorry, I was doing all the admin stuff back here. So top 10.
Jeez.
Top 10 in scrimmage yards from last year.
Top 10 scrimmage yards for last year.
So give us a name. Offensive production.
Hollywood Smothers.
No, returning.
No, coming back.
Oh,
coming back.
returning. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Keenan Jackson.
Oh, he took one that I wasn't
Yeah.
even gonna go with, but at least
Yeah,
first
Jackson
off.
was 8th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Obviously the one you're returning the most is CJ Bailey.
Well, no. So this does not include passing yards. It's just rushing.
Oh,
Jeez.
see that if you would have led
But-
with that
Greg.
part.
Well, from scrimmage yards. So I should have clarified. But good news, Greg. CJ Bailey.
See, he
is
did
still
run.
running.
He ran a few.
He did run. He was 9th at 211 yards. So
All
there's
right,
still
so-
2 guys.
Yeah, so then it would be Duke.
Who surprisingly was 2nd. That caught me by surprise. I don't know
No,
where you
it
guys were on
wouldn't
that.
surprise me. No, because of his Georgia Tech game and his Memphis game.
But
Like-
still, I mean, he had more yards than Terrell Anderson. He had a lot more
Yeah.
yards than Justin Jolie. Obviously, Noah Rogers, Wesley Grimes, those guys.
Yeah.
I had kind of forgotten that, again,
He
from
catches the ball
scrimmage,
pretty well.
he does 580 yards on the ground last year, 132 in the air. You know, nine yards per catch for a running back is pretty good. But
Mhm.
yeah, 713 total yards was 2nd on the team last year, obviously behind Smothers. There's one
Yeah.
more guy in the top 10 who's back.
Mm.
I know. See, honestly, I was honestly blinking after that.
So this
tight
one
end-
this one is
no.
tough, but when you get it, you're gonna be like, oh, okay.
Is this a technicality? Are you going
I
Teddy
don't think
Hoffman? Is
I
this a
don't think it's
technicality?
technical. No, I did not include Hoffman.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good one, Greg. I have to actually. That totally would
That's a
have.
good guess.
Yeah.
Hoffman
Yeah.
Hoffman was 7th, 345, but I did not include him.
Wide receiver?
Nope.
Oh,
Running back?
no.
Nope.
Tight end.
It's gotta be a tight end
Nope.
then. What the hell
What?
was it?
Will
It's
Wilson.
not a running back. It's not. a tight end.
Oh yeah, good call. Good call.
What is it?
Will Wilson.
Will Wilson. 146 yards.
Oh,
Yeah.
mm.
Obviously led the team with 10 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not a technicality, right? We included CJ Bailey for his running
Sure.
yards, but
Yeah.
you know, kind of a little bit of a curveball there, right? And you don't think of that. And I think it's interesting. Like, I think NC State had to invest in him to get him back, right? I think that is a guy who likely could have had options going to other schools.
He was
Probably would have
invested.
down a level. Yeah. I think he was taken care of well. And, you know, in terms of a per play, like he's going to be paid very, very handsomely. He only had 43 running plays last year,
Mm.
which isn't, you know, it's not really a lot. And so I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, 4 of your top 10 skill guys are back. And this is kind of what I was talking about with Bailey. It's like, all right, you know, you had your turn where you had NFL guys around you, right? Smothers, Jolie, Peak, Terrell Anderson. We expect those guys to be in the NFL at some point. Obviously, Jolie already is. I don't know with these guys. You know, we haven't seen him yet. I don't expect it. But, you know, now it's Bailey's turn to kind of elevate these guys. And it's a lot of new faces that he's familiar with. But
Mhm.
yeah, 26. So there's your stat, Layton. I lost it. But it was 1,381. Yeah, 1,300 yards returning. 26% of the production from last year is
That's a
back.
great list.
Not a lot.
Yeah, it's a great stat there. So let's move on over to another favorite of mine, which is our tweets of the week, y'all. Once I can find it, and we go. All right, let me get us switched over here. Once I can read it, there we go. All righty. So first one here from Brian Murphy, coming out with a tweet that has been gone crazy in terms of on the debate stage here amongst the X universe here. So talking about basically piggyback off of Matt Brown's tweet and basically listing the royalties, licensing, advertisements, and corporate sponsorship revenue between UNC and NC State over the last 3 years. Obviously listing UNC, talking about from 24-25, they made 23.9 million, and then a back a year further was 14 million, back a year further 16.4 million. Those same 3 years for NC State, he has listed as $2.4 million here for NC State, $2.5 million the year before, and then $2.3 million the year before that. So at least
real quick.
Go
Real
ahead.
quick. Yeah, just I put this together earlier today. About 4 hours ago, he even questioned his own reporting here, and there was another tweet that followed up, says, "I do wonder if there is some reporting difference in how each school gets to this number." So, and I think where you were going to go is this seems awful low. Even
Correct.
smaller schools were showing bigger numbers than State. The original tweet was referencing $5 million in the schools that were above and below, and the ones that are below, like around this number, are not at State's level for sports prestige, if you will, for a lack of a better way to describe it.
Yeah. I mean, basically what the question I was about to ask, Greg, and I know, I mean, it's 9:22, it's not past 10 yet, but we rarely go past 10 anyway, so I'm going to say it. But basically my question was going to be, is this bullshit? Like, you know, flat out, right? Like, you like to me, it just like, no, like, I get it. It's UNC. I get it. But 7 to 10 times more than NC State, like,
yeah. And honestly, I have some context here. Ironically, I was at the new Rally House that was opened up over in Cary not too long ago. And if for anyone that doesn't know what Rally House is, it's a company that sells college apparel, pro apparel. And I was talking to, I don't know if she was a manager or whatever, but she seemed to have a lot of information. That store had way too much blue in it for my liking. And I was like, oh, this place is like so Carolina heavy and even Duke heavy compared to State. And she was just talking about the licensing. And we've talked about this before, especially with the whole Slobbering Wolf debacle from last fall, about, you know, getting gear with certain things. And State has been known in their trademark and licensing department that they're kind of stingy on what they share out for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent. But she did share that State charges about 40% in profit. So, you know, they get the first 40% of anything Rally House sells. So anyone that questions why a damn hoodie is $80-$90, everyone has to get their cut in it. And so that's part of the reason why you see these ridiculous prices on gear. Ironically, she said that wasn't even the worst. Duke requires 75% profit, and they don't put their license on anything. But anyway, just some context there.
Yeah. Anything you would add?
I don't know. This is bad YouTubing on my part, but it's hard to react without being able to ask follow-up questions.
Yeah,
Correct.
Like you said,
Yeah.
like it's just kind of like, okay, like what's the
where are we pulling this
circumstances
from?
here? Yeah,
Exactly.
right. I you know, you looked at the list and it's like, again, there's a bunch of like State is just like not even like mid majors, like below that, and it's
Correct.
just like, okay, clearly there's something else. You know, not something else at play, but like
Maybe Brian Murphy can do a
more-
follow-up and do his job. No offense,
more-
Brian Murphy. You do pretty good work, but this seems kind of lazy.
We love you, Brian. All right.
He is good. I will give him that. Like, he is good. But to me, this was just like, I would have waited on this. Sorry, Ethan, I'm still in your moment, but this kind of grinds my
Well,
gears.
no, I mean, he's just aggregating Matt Brown's reporting.
Correct.
And if I had
That's
seen
all
it, sure, like it's interesting content, but
yeah. And
without
he did
having
follow up
more-
and said he kind of questioned it, right? So like he is,
Right.
I think he will kind of unpeel the layers here. But guess what? Guess what happened today? Boo Corrigan had a press conference. This would have been a perfect opportunity to do some follow up and ask these questions. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with that being said, speaking of though, Greg, picking up the temperature here a little bit here. Let's pick up the
Yes.
temperature a little bit more here. Talking about UT Martin transfer, Jalen Hampton, offensive tackle transfer that committed back in February. That was ruled ineligible by the NCAA because of the NCAA medical hardship waiver that he put in that was declined. Greg, since you're already going a little heated here anyway, you know, I'm going to let you run with this one a little bit more here, man, because I'm sitting here saying, again, NCAA stands for no clue at all. It's just like,
Yeah.
you know, again, like just do the easy things. Listen, like, you know, it just, I don't know.
Well-
To me, this was just a layup of an opportunity here. Like NCAA, just take the ball, lay it up on the basket, and move on here. Like just say yes, and let's move on here. But go ahead, Greg.
This is exactly why we have 5-5 now. This is the This is one of the things where we're gonna get rid of all of this, right? And the crazy thing is had he not participated in spring ball, then he could have used that semester in the fall and been fine. Again, doesn't really make a lot of sense, but if he'd have said, you know what, and here I'm gonna maybe blame state here. If they knew he only had one semester of eligibility, why did we let him potentially burn it in the spring? So that would be a question that I would have. But it sucks. Either way, it sucks that this kid's career is going to be done when you can give him one more semester and just let it be done. Like, just look, we're going to let all the shit, since you already dropped the bullshit, I'll just say the shit. We could have just been done with it, let it fly, and then boom, you start a new 1 January or whenever that new rule goes into effect at what semester. But it sucks.
Yeah. You're exactly right, Greg. Like, where was the? I mean, again, we don't know behind the scenes what was going on here, but
and they might have thought this was it was going to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
could be right. And you have the same thing with Katron Evans going on right now, where they're having to appeal an ineligible ruling. But like, just a quick glance at his UT Martin page, redshirted in 21. Okay, so he played in 22, played 22 at a community college.
Which I thought those years didn't count against you, but again, I'm still confused about the rules.
I think they do.
I thought you got one free year, or am I making this up?
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Again, the rules are who knows. But he didn't play in 2023 at Charlotte, but he was on the roster, and then 24 and 25. Like, you know, like you said, like, where's the context there? And like, can you really blame the NCAA for like, again, of course you can blame the NCAA, but
it's easy.
Like,
you always
he
blame
started college in 2021. Like, okay, I get it. It's 2026. Like, let's move on. And
well, that's kind of 5 and 5 though, isn't it?
Guys. It is 5 and 5. Exactly. It is 5 and 5.
Yeah.
But still 20, 25, like 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, that would still be 5.
Yeah.
So this is 6, you know, so yeah, like you said, it sucks for him, but I'm with you, Greg. Where, like, and again, we don't know what NC State was doing or wasn't doing, but like, where is the, hey, what's going, like, what do we need
maybe
to
we
know
keep this, maybe we keep the semester in our back pocket just in case we need it. Like,
Right.
I get it. You want to get him in spring ball, but in the grand scheme of things, he could have came in the fall and been fine. Like, you could have gave him a workout program, say, hey, go do this. Come back in the fall. Like, I don't know.
And not a guy you expect to start, but I think some nice depth that you had on the offensive line.
Correct. Yeah. And so definitely a heart goes out for sure for Jalen Hampton, as that's I don't know. I haven't seen this before. Like, I haven't seen a situation like this go down before. So to see it, like you said, like, you know, building up all the excitement for your final year of college football, and it to be the rug to be pulled out like this, only 40 days away from the start of football season is terrible, to say the least. So, but speaking of, though, in terms of talking about ACC here, who came out with their new tiebreaker policy here, which so the updated tie-breaking procedure is built on 3 guideline principles. Head-to-head results will always matter most. No team will be overly rewarded or penalized based on the number of conference games it played. And when head-to-head competition cannot separate tied teams, the team with the strongest overall body of work will earn the opportunity to compete
what does
for
that
the
mean?
championship. Exactly. That's literally what I was about to say. Greg, can you say this in English here? What the heck are these guidelines here? I don't understand exactly what is trying to be accomplished here.
This means whoever is ranked higher, probably, I have a feeling, right? Whoever's ranked higher in the CFP playoff is going to get the nod because they want to protect that asset.
Yeah, I think, you know, the ACC champion not making the playoff, and rightfully so, I think, in Duke last year. I'm totally cool with an 8-5 Duke team not getting in.
But
it's an all-time low point.
Yeah.
Right. It's an all-time low point for this conference. Like, especially from a football, like, it just it doesn't get worse than that. You cannot let that happen as a conference. And if I recall correctly, there was some talk, like, leading up to the game, like, change the rules and get Miami in, you know? And so, yeah, this is a no-brainer. Now it's extremely subjective, but yeah, it will go to the highest ranked team because you can't let that happen again. Now, I do think there was a trade-off where Duke winning allowed Miami. Like, I think there was a a little give and take with the committee
Mm-hmm.
where they said, hey, we're going to leave your conference champion out, but we will put Miami in, versus had Virginia won. I think Virginia definitely gets in, and potentially do they leave Miami out? I think maybe that's the way that could have played out. But yeah, this is a, if push comes to shove and we're in a situation like we were last year, we are going to put in the highest ranked team, right? And it's okay, head to head first. So, you have to do that. But then after that, it's pretty much we're going to the highest ranked team if there's a tiebreaker.
If there's a tiebreak, right? So if they're both 6-2 or 7-1, and that's the other thing, right? What's based the number 2 bullet here, because you're going to have some teams play 8 conference games and others play 9.
Right.
And
so if you have a 6-2 team, right,
or
a 6-2 team versus a 6-3 team, the 6-2 team is going to get in. Yeah, exactly.
Or 7-1.
Yeah.
Again, based on body of work. So a 6-2 could get in over 7-1. Well, if there's
no.
So if there's one 7-1
these are
team,
tiebreaker procedures. Yeah.
Yeah, but so you're saying 7-1 is better than 6-2, right? Because again, okay, well, what if you did 7-2? I don't know. There's a combo where I think a team that plays less games could make it in over a team that plays more games with loss
with the winning percentage. Yeah. So a 7-1 team would get over a 7-2 team. So the tiebreaker, you can only be tied with teams that played the same number of games this year.
Yeah, but if you had 7-1 and 6-2, so 7-2 that plays 9 and 6-2 that plays 8, that's
the
a tie.
7-2 team gets in. No.
See, they said they weren't going to. It doesn't matter. So are they going to base it off win percentage? Because that's not what it says here. Because it says no team will overly be rewarded or penalized based on the number of conference games it's played.
Again,
I just assumed it was based on winning percentage. Is it not? I guess I shouldn't assume with the ACC. That's my
point.
Here, Greg, I can summarize this very easily for everybody here. If we are in last year's situation once again, we are putting this in place so that way we have some kind of justification for putting Miami in. That's basically
whoever that team is, but yes.
Well, but just the big brand of the ACC. If we need to swoop in as the savior ACC and make sure that blue blood gets in, now this gives us opportunity because there is so much gray wording here. It's not even funny. Like just like you said, Greg. To start this tweet off? What the heck does all this mean? So what the heck all this means what does that mean? It means gray area. It means opportunity for the ACC to be that savior. So I don't know. That's why I take away here. Go ahead.
So AI says it is winning percentage.
Yeah, I was just doing it myself.
But there's nothing in the article from the ACC in this tweet that specifies.
Right. The word percentage is not in this entire tweet here. So, but oh well.
So it says. So what AI are you using, just out of curiosity, not to get too far into this?
I just Googled it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did chat GPT and it says, so a 7-2 record does not automatically beat a 6-2 record under the 2026 rules. The deciding factors, and then they have some other, but so it's not an automatic. I don't know. Maybe because of head-to-head. Maybe head-to-head will trump that if they 6-2 and 7-2. I don't know. Stay tuned, I guess, is the long-winded answer of it. Hopefully it doesn't get to that.
No. So want to give a shout out to one of our very own represented us actually in Charlotte, Isaiah Shirley, who's been named an AFCA Good Works Team nominee as one of the nation's top community leaders. And hey, I do got to give us a little bit of pat on the back here, Greg, is when Isaiah was committed to NC State, we had him here on the show. And
dude, I think took one of my things from another tweet that was coming up. But go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. Oh, hey, well, I mean, you at least run with it here.
Well, no, I wanted you to bring up the tweet, and we'll come back to this real quick of all the guys.
Okay. I see what you're doing. I see what you're talking about. Yeah. All right, it's coming right at you.
Yeah. So, for us, this is pretty cool. I think we had, for anyone that's listening and not got the video. This is the group photo of the crew that represented the pack down in Charlotte. You have Isaiah, Shirley, CJ Bailey, and Duke Scott, and of course, Coach Doeren. The cool thing is we interviewed all 3 of those guys the year they came in as freshmen. And I thought that was just really cool now to see them grow in their maturation process, representing this team. And, these are the guys that honestly, when we spoke to them as freshmen, I thought, man, these guys could definitely lead this club in a few years. And you're seeing that come full circle. But then back to your point on Isaiah, though, like, if nothing else, he is the guy that you want representing your university. Scholar athlete, good ball player, does a tremendous amount of work in the community. His story is amazing. And if you're interested, go back into our archives and find that interview. And all like Duke was so mature, Isaiah was so mature. And then, of course, CJ being a quarterback, he's naturally mature because he has to lead a ball club. So really cool stuff.
Yeah. So huge shout out here. Ethan, anything to add here talking about Isaiah before wrap up tweets of the week here?
No, Greg summed it up well. Great guys, great ambassadors of the university and the program.
Yeah. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, we're going to jump back here to the main side here. I wanted to talk a little bit here to wrap up the show. Is Greg, I know you had a couple more tweets to get to here.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Obviously, ran over here a little bit here on time here. I did want to talk about a couple other quotes here that I took away here from the ACC Kickoff. One quote in particular, CJ Bailey said was, and I quote, "I was winging it my first year," which I kind of take that with a little bit of grain of salt in the fact that you're a true freshman. You're coming in basically told Grayson McCall is starting quarterback, period. Like there's no competition. Like it's Grayson McCall is your starting quarterback here. So, I don't think there was obviously a lot of expectations for him going into the year saying, all right, you better, like you gotta be ready, you gotta be up and ready to go. Like, it was probably pretty much said that you're going to take this year and develop and learn, get used to the offense, and then be ready for next year to compete here. So
enjoy the clipboard.
Exactly. So Ethan, I mean, like, do you take that quote as verbatim? I was completely just like, I don't know, he's open, I'll throw it that way. Or do you think that he probably had an idea, but just didn't have all like the reps from the offseason to have full confidence of every single play he was running?
I mean, I think there's an element of both, right? Like we know how challenging the quarterback position is, particularly mentally. And look, you can have all the traits, right? But if it doesn't click for you mentally, it's not going to work. And so I do think like, yeah, an 18-year-old, like State doesn't play many true freshmen, like Jalen McClendon wasn't able to earn it. Devin Leary took 2 or 3 years.
You got to go back a little ways.
Settled. Yeah. I mean, even Russell Wilson, right? I mean, you have to go back to Phillip Rivers, right? Who started as a freshman. So, yeah, I think it makes sense. I do think there's an element of like, as a freshman, you're just going out there and playing. And there's also an element of you don't know what you don't know, right? Like you don't know all the negatives. Right. You're going out there a little more, on one side it's negative because you don't have a great grasp of the playbook, but on the other side, you're just playing. You're not thinking. You don't have time to think, And so, yeah, I 100% get what he's saying. And again, that's what we were talking about it earlier. Like that's kind of why I did wonder if there would be. I shouldn't say I wonder. I thought there would be a bigger step forward from CJ Bailey year 1 to year 2. And again, not to say it won't happen year 2 to year 3, but you expect that to grow. You expect that part of the game to get easier for you, especially. He's still very young, 19, 20 years old, 20, I guess, probably by now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. And, again, I think that also too, I mean, like kind of building off it though, like, I think that for him, I definitely have a lot of belief in the fact of that he has a better understanding of where he truly needs to be and from a leadership perspective to help a team be successful. And the fact that, like one other quote that he mentioned, and Greg, I'll let you speak on this. He said, and I quote, "What we need is an alpha leader, and that's what I am right now." Now, with that being said, keep in mind that you were not given the number 1 jersey. Now, can a quarterback? I mean, quarterback hasn't been given the number 1 jersey yet, so I don't know if it's necessarily, if that kind of plays into it here at all. But the fact that Duke Scott, who was there, who got the number 1 jersey and was even said multiple times during the whole AC kickoff process, talking about, Duke Sky and what of a leader he is at such a young age, for CJ to still come out and say, listen, we still need an alpha leader. We still need leadership. And I am that person right now. I think it says a lot in terms of, from a confidence perspective, that you feel extremely confident. The locker room is going to be in good hands. The culture is going to stay strong and is going to be strong at the start of the season and more than likely throughout the season.
Yeah, look, the quarterback is going to be is going to be a leader of the team in any shape or form. Like, that's just how it goes. Comes with the territory. You have different types of leaders. You have the rah, get in your face type of leader, a verbal kind of guy. You have a service leader where they just go out and lead by example. So we don't know necessarily what type of leaders these are, but they are leaders, right? And you even heard Isaiah Shirley when he was on the podium saying that he's taking more of a leadership role, with it being his 4th year in the program. I think that I don't CJ doesn't come off in the few times that I've had interactions with him, and again, it's not necessarily in the locker room, which is completely different in everything. He doesn't seem like an aggressive leader, if you will. There's no doubt that he demands respect and he has a presence, but it just seems that he's probably one of those leaders that goes out and puts in the work, does the film study. People just see what he's doing, and then he tells the boys, let's go. It again just feels like that from the outside. But I definitely think that all 3 of the men that were representing the Pack last week in Charlotte are leaders. I don't think they would have been there in that position speaking to that group of media members if they weren't leaders in some regard. And so, yeah, I do think that CJ and Duke and they will be great leaders this year for this team. And you'll learn pretty quick once you start finding out who's captains and all of that, right? Because again, those captains typically have those leadership traits as well.
True. Now, a quote which Ethan, I'll leave this to you first here, as you've obviously mentioned CJ Bailey's name a lot, even just in this live show itself here. So I want to ask you about one other quote that Coach Doeren said, which I know for me personally, I got sent to me by probably 4 different people, including my own wife, even, where Coach Doeren said CJ Bailey could be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. To which everybody was like, oh my gosh, like, what the heck is he saying? Which to me, Ethan, again, he said could
hot.
be. I know he said could be. He didn't say is going to be the best quarterback in the country. Or is. He said could be. So, Ethan, with all the concern you still have, could CJ Bailey be the best quarterback in the country this upcoming season?
Well, I don't know about the best, but could be one of the best. Yeah, the tools are there. I don't think that's really.
Real quick, define one of the best. Like top 5?
That was his quote.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he's top 10, top 15, that's one of the best with as many teams that play football. I mean, that's, top 5%.
Right.
That's one of the best. Again, I don't know what that number is.
And I mean, that's top 25% of Power 4 teams,
Sure.
And it's hard, JKS at Kyle, I think a lot of people would tell you he's better than CJ Bailey, but his, what he's got around him is probably worse. So is he going to be quote unquote better? And so to me, that's kind of where it's, kind of tough. I think, I look at guys who to me are definitively better than him. You got Darian Mensah. He's the only one in the ACC who's definitively better. Again, a lot of people would put JKS in that category. I do think that would be fair. Arch Manning, Dante Moore at Oregon. Oh, Greg, come on. Julian Sayin at.
Just saying. Greg. Hot take. I'm not taking. I'm not sold on.
You're
Arch
taking
Manning.
CJ Bailey over Arch Manning.
No, but I'm not saying that Arch Manning is definitively better than CJ.
Okay, I do think Arch got a lot of heat early on, and then got a lot better when people stopped paying attention. So
he did.
Dante Moore at Oregon. I'm trying to think.
Well, I mean, I got one, and it's close to home here. It's gonna be close to home here. Lenore Sellers or CJ Bailey from South Carolina. Lenore Sellers from South Carolina or CJ Bailey.
They're pretty close.
They're pretty close. That's what I'm saying.
Sellers
I think
maybe with a notch.
To me, Sellers has a little more raw talent and two extremely talented players.
Correct.
But I think Bailey is a little more like, okay, the production is
He's more
actually
refined.
there than it is for
Yeah.
Sellers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So are you telling me he could be top 10 in the AC in the country? I could see that. Top 5 to me feels like a stretch. Like, I don't think you'll see him on any Heisman lists, but
Yeah.
top 10 to 12, like, yeah, I could see him there. Again, the physical talent is there. If he puts it together and takes a big step forward, yeah, I expect, like, this is a guy who could take a big step forward that, again, I expected to see last year or thought we would see it. Like, could he get to 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ethan, but CJ has gotten a little bit of national love. He's been mentioned on some national, podcast and those types of things. So people are watching, people are looking. And so I don't think Doeren's comments are too far out of line. And again, top 10, top 15, that's one of the top quarterbacks in the country is, again, there's 50 programs, 65 programs that play Power 4 football. Again, public math's hard, so don't quote me. But if there's 50 and he's top 10, that's top tier of the percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to get a lot of love from draft guys too. Like that. He's very, very toolsy. He's very toolsy.
Yeah. Plus he's
tall.
He's
tall. Yeah. He's got all the measurables. The question for NC State is, can you get it to translate? And if it does, yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of buzz, a lot of hype headed into the draft. I would not bet I'll be surprised to see him in the draft next year.
Yeah, I agree. If he has the year that people are projecting, I could definitely see a scenario where he's top 3 rounds. And then if he tests out well, he could even jump from there. But yeah, he's got the tangibles. Look, if he can cut down the interceptions like by a third, so he throws 6 interceptions this year. Maybe he gets some of those running touchdowns back from Will Wilson, and has some positive.
Will he though? I don't think he will.
I don't think he will. Yeah, I agree with that statement. I'm just saying, and maybe you get a couple more running yards where he, instead of throwing the ball away, he runs for 3 yards or 4 yards in a cloud of dust. Like, give me something, and shows that maturity, that it takes that step, right. And again, Dave Doeren said could be, so he leaves the door open in either direction.
Yeah. Now, another quote I'm actually going to pull up here, which is not necessarily related to NC State here, but definitely brought a lot of eyes to it here, was James Franklin in his press conference saying, and I quote, "We won the offseason," to which
I've heard that before.
I'm sitting here like, that is just such a James Franklin quote. Like, we won the offseason. And so I don't know. I'm sitting here saying, did he learn nothing during his time at Penn State? Like, stop with this. I don't again, we won the offseason.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. What does that mean? Like, who's not going to say that? Like, even you got freaking Bill Belichick saying, oh, we have a night and day, roster. We have a night and day culture, even though you lost 60, you have 60 new players, but you have new night and day culture. It's just same old crap. So, but now, another quote though, which is not by NC State, which I did want to bring up here because it definitely hit me watching it. It was Dabo Swinney talking about the Luke Farrelly situation, which for those that are unaware of the situation, basically was a guy that transferred into Clemson, was enrolled in classes, started workouts, rented an apartment, and even bought a car before flipping to Ole Miss in his commitment. And ACC Kickoff, Dabo Swinney said, and I quote, "We're probably going to need some congressional help to stop tampering," and even called it rampant across college football, and stated even further saying that the NCAA owes me an update. I did my part, asked the NCAA for an update here. So, Greg, I mean, I listen, how do we, because in my opinion, I do agree in terms of that's definitely one of the most, like he went all the way down to even saying this dude even bought a car in Clemson, South Carolina, and yet he still flipped to Ole Miss here.
Right.
Yeah.
Leased.
Bought a car. Leased a car from a friend named John Doe. Anyway, but Ethan, still like how do we address this? Like, what are your thoughts on this? And can this ever honestly be addressed with this current day and age?
No, I don't think you can get rid of it 100%. And if I'm Dabo Swinney here, you better be playing by the rules, because if I'm somebody else and I thought they were tampering after you called somebody else out, man, you're going to be hearing from me. So
be careful with those stones and
what's
glass
the saying?
houses.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that the one you were thinking about?
That's exactly the one I was thinking of. So this was I remember the story when it happened. I don't remember all of the exact details. I want to say he was originally committed to Ole Miss, if I'm not mistaken, and then was transferring from Ole Miss. I don't remember the specifics, but
yeah.
Look,
well,
agent.
I was going
to say, as long as agents and other people are involved, like this is not going to go away. It's not going to go away. And people, schools' budgets change, and they don't get somebody, or they get somebody else, and then things change.
Get recruited over.
So, they get recruited over. Yeah. So no, I don't think. And again, I think the NCAA has said, hey, you have this transfer period. That's your time to transfer. Outside of that, sorry. Yeah. I think that's probably the best thing you can do, because as far as tampering, and he should know, like Dabo should know this. He sounds like a big crybaby crying about this. Not that he's wrong, but it's like, come on, man.
No, but he better have some strong receipts, right? Because again, we talked about it. Like, no university should get caught up in this when you have third-party agents acting as your representation. There's no need for a school to go directly to a kid. Again, if you work through agents, it looks more on the up and up. And look, is it a mess? Absolutely. Is this what these kids wanted? Absolutely. So with the good comes the bad. And, the coaches, if the coaches are saying, hey, I'm all for players getting paid and this and that, well, you've introduced all of this. And look, you let the NCAA just open Pandora's box, let it go with limited guardrails on the situation. And now you're trying to rein it back. And it's going to be really hard, because whatever Congress decides to do with this and save college athletics with the realignment of what they're trying to do there, all of this stuff is going to get challenged in courts. It's going to take a long time to work its way out, if it even works its way out. If we can even get Congress to agree on this, we can't agree on the most simplest things. You think that they're going to work through this? Like, give me a break. Like, good luck. Look, and I don't say that there should not be some reforms, because what's happening is we as the fans get stuck with the bill in our lap, right? And we shouldn't be required to foot even more of these bills, because we're already having to pay surcharges and tickets for stadium renovations. We're having to pay this for facilities. Like, at some time, daddy's checkbook's got to tap out.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a fair comment here. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, we'll wrap it up there. But again, really appreciate everybody tuning in here. Definitely really love this show. If you enjoyed this show, first and foremost, always remember that we are live here most every Monday night, 8:30 p.m. So make sure to not miss out on any of these live shows. And to do that, do a big favor. Hit that subscribe button. If that subscribe button is lit up for you right now, that means you haven't hit it yet. Make sure to smash it right now. It's free to do. Really helps support the channel, and you're notified whenever we go live with any new content. Greg, go ahead.
But Layton, what if they miss it? How can they get to the replay?
Well, I mean, we post it as its own separate video. Is that what you're hinting at here?
Well,
too,
that
Greg?
You can get it on Spotify. You can get it on
Apple
Podcast, iHeartRadio. Do I have to do these plugs for you? Like,
hey, listen.
I'm just the beauty in the face of this organization.
Listen, Greg.
The brains.
We'll work on this later, but hey, I appreciate the effort here, Greg, here for sure. But yes, definitely with the Spotify, make sure to go. If you're listening to us on Spotify, do us a big favor. Leave us a 5-star review, but also too as well, just like Greg said, if you're like, wanting to drive down the road, you want to be safe and don't have the video up, you can still listen to us right there, wherever you listen to your podcast.
Right. Are we encouraging people not to be safe here? What are we doing?
God, we don't have any money as it is. We're going to get sued.
Well, no, I'm saying don't watch video while you're driving. So listen to us through Spotify. That's what I'm saying.
There you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or Apple Podcast or whatever your platform is. Yeah.
You got it. But also too as well, make sure to check out our amazing Patreon too as well, where our man Ethan helps us come out with 12 members only videos per month for only $5 a month. and you get access to our members only rumor chat too as well. So any insides that we're hearing, we'll make sure to share directly through that rumor chat. So again, a rumor chat, 12 members only videos per month, only $5 a month, amazing value. Go click the link down in the description below and sign up here today. But with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, we will see you all soon, and we appreciate y'all and look soon. And as always, go Pack.